Hello people, John here, welcome back to the channel. If you're first time here, welcome along. If you've been before, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be going out on this absolute beast of a bike. It's the Triumph Tiger 1200 Explorer from 2013. It is an older bike, but this is something that I've been wanting to get on one of these for quite some time now. A friend of mine owns a shop, sells second-hand bikes, and he just got this in the other day there. So he's kindly loaned it to me for a few days. I've never driven this bike yet. This is literally going to be my first ride, and if you look that way, that's coming towards me. So I think I'm going to get wet, but you know what, I don't care. I'm absolutely buzzing about getting out in this thing. But if you want to hear what I've got to say about this bike, please join me after the intro. So a bit of a strange part of the video there for you folks. I really apologise for that, but this weather moved in a lot quicker than what I thought, and it was quite bad hail. So I actually had to stop the bike. Because I've never ridden this bike, I'm not prepared to drive in weather like that until I get to know the bike. Plus it's quite heavy. But it's died down a lot now. It's still drizzling a little bit. I'm actually going to have to maybe cut this video a little bit short because stupid me is wearing biker jeans. So I'm pretty wet now. So I've got this bike for a few days anyway, so it shouldn't matter. I can make another video on it if this one doesn't work out very well. So this is the Tiger 1200 or Tiger Explorer. Anyway, so I'm out doing this review on this bike. This is a bike I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. It's probably one of my favourite bikes. So I've spent about 5 minutes trying to get a wee bit of a feeling for the bike, and then also got hit with hail. I had to stop under a tunnel, under a bridge, until that passed. So I'm actually just heading home now. I've got this bike for a few days, thankfully, so I can get a good run at it as I go along. I'm not going to take any risks. If you know anything about this bike, you know it's a big heavy lump, and I'm not prepared to go daft. So anyway, let me talk about this bike then. That's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear me moaning about the weather. So like I say, this is the 1200 Tiger, or the Tiger Explorer. It's actually a 1215cc, and it's a triple, producing about 135 horsepower, and it's absolutely lovely. It's lovely and smooth, great engine. Straight away, as soon as I started up, I knew I love this bike, I love this engine. So yeah, nice and powerful engine. Again, I'm not going to get a chance to use it that much right now, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, nice and lovely engine. So it's that triple sound. Triumphs can make a triple, we all know that. And this bike's no different whatsoever. It's fantastic. The gearbox in it is nice and smooth as well. A little bit of clunkiness maybe, but nothing major. I'm going to sneak up the front. So yeah, the gearbox is nice and smooth as well. This isn't a chain driven bike, it's a shaft driven bike, which is a novelty for me. I've only ever ridden one other shaft driven bike, and that was the BMW 1200 GS, and I quite like that obviously. Shafts are nice and smooth, and this one, this feels better. I'm a bit of a Triumph fanboy folks, if you don't know that, so maybe I'm just getting carried away with the fact that it's a Triumph, but no, it's really nice and smooth, everything about it. And like I said, it's got that big engine, you know, it's 135 horsepower, that's all you need, right? You don't even need that much, to be perfectly honest, not in the real world, but you know, it's nice to have it if you need it, right? Bearing in mind, I ride a Kawasaki Versys 650, producing about 70 horsepower, but it's not even 70 horsepower, it's like 65 or something like that. So this is twice the power, so yeah, novelty for me. But the thing that's not novelty for me is the weight. Now this bike weighs 260 kilos wet. It's not quite a full tank of fuel in it, but not far off of it. So yeah, straight away, as soon as I lifted it off the side stand, in fact I didn't even lift it off the side stand, I pushed it out the garage door and I felt the weight there. But then when I got on the bike and tried to lift it up, yeah, it was definitely not light, not much, not what I'm used to. So yeah, definitely a heavy bike. But other than that, you know, once you start moving, the bike's fine. You know, there's no sensation of weight when, like right now, I'm doing. Yeah, so there's no sensation of weight when you're moving. But you know, coming up to these traffic lights, I can definitely feel the weight. Feels like he just wants to tip over a little bit maybe, and definitely going round this bend. You know, I'm going probably slower than what I really should be, but you can definitely feel it there as well. But you know, once I'm on the straight and I give it a little bit of juice, perfectly fine. But one of the first things that jump out at me when I start riding it, and I'm getting used to the weight a little bit, is the comfort of the bike. This bike is super comfortable. This bike thankfully comes with a comfort seat, and it's doing its job well. My legs are in a nice position. I'm not feeling cramp in my knees or anything like that. My back's nice and straight, and my hands are about shoulder width apart, probably more than shoulder width apart actually. So that's nice. So I've got good control of the bike for when I'm moving it about. And believe it or not, surprisingly, for the size of the bike, for the weight of it, it's actually quite nimble. You know, you can definitely move it around at speed. Obviously, I'm just taking my time a little bit because hailstorm. You know, you don't know what's lying on the road round the next bend. So yeah, we have to be careful in weather like this, as you all know. But no, it's surprisingly agile. It's a lot more agile than what I thought it was going to be be honest, which is a nice, pleasant surprise. And I suppose that comes down to the suspension. It's not budget suspension on this bike. Most of the bikes I've owned have budget suspension, and a few of the ones that I've test ridden have had, you know, fancy suspension. But this one definitely isn't standard suspension. It's fully adjustable, front and rear. The front's for rebound and dampening, and the rear suspension's for preload. So this bike's for sale. But my friend actually, who owns the shop, just got this bike in a few days ago, and he's kindly loaned it to me. It's not been touched really since it was handed in, so this has been set up for somebody else. But you know, right now I feel very comfortable on it. It's nice and smooth. The suspension is there's no jarring going through my back or anything like that. So yeah, it feels good. You know, I'm enjoying it. So a combination of good engine, nice gearbox, and nice comfortable ride. What else could you want? One of the things I do feel about the bike, it feels massive. You know, it feels huge. I feel like I'm sitting inside it rather than sitting on top of it. This petrol tank sits a bit higher than what I'm used to, and the fairing's really good. It's keeping most of this wind off of my legs and my body. This big screen in front of me, keeping all the wind off me as well. And for once I've remembered to take the peak off my helmet, so I'm not getting battered around with the crosswinds. So yeah, it feels really good. Good wind protection, good weather protection. The hand guards are doing a decent job. I don't feel much wind on my hands, but it's cold, so I've got the heated grips on. This bike comes with heated grips, and they're nice and toasty on my hands right now. I'm enjoying that as well. But yeah, moving it about, it just feels really, really good. At higher speeds, you know, at the low speeds not so much, but at the higher speeds fine. But I think that's something you would just get used to. So like I said, it's not a budget bike. Now it's what, 9 years old, this bike now, and when it came out it wasn't a budget bike, but it does have some fancy stuff on it. You know, it's got some electronics, gizmos on it. It doesn't have LED lights or anything like that. I think it's maybe a little too old for that kind of stuff, but what it does have is it's enough. I'm not a fan of too much electronics. But I had a little play about with it before I came out, just to find out what everything was. So it's got this nice instrument panel in front of me, so it's obviously you can see it. It's it has both. It's got analog and digital, or it's like LCD. And obviously the analog's just my rev counter, and it's got a bunch of lights in there, warning lights. Thankfully none of them are on. But the actual digital part of it is fairly it's packed with information. You know, it's got a temperature gauge, it's got a clock, it's got a gear indicator, it's got a speed well, what speed you're doing. It's got quite a more detailed trip counter, so It's got, like, you know, how much fuel you've got to get with your current fuel, etc. Time you've been riding. Yeah, and then obviously different trip meters. It's got a fuel gauge, thankfully. Yeah, so that's all you need, I think. Within the menus of that LCD, you can go in and you can turn off things like the ABS and the traction control. I think it's got 3 settings for traction control. No rider modes, unfortunately, but you know, I suppose you could just play about with the traction control settings to essentially have riding modes. Other than that, that's all it's in the instrument panel. On my left hand side, you can see these 2 big buttons here. So I've got the heated grips and the auxiliary lights. Again, this bike comes with auxiliary lights. You've got an information button that tells you the temperature, the air temperature, etc. Let's have a look and see what that is actually. So 6.5 degrees. Trust me, it doesn't feel 6.5 degrees. It feels about 2.5 degrees. So it's your normal stuff like your lights, your horn. Yeah, so that's pretty good. It's got this information button where you can scroll through the menus on the screen. On the right hand side, it's got your emergency stop button, your start button, and it's got cruise control. I'm not a fan of cruise control on any vehicle, but I can maybe see the benefit on a motorcycle, especially if you're doing a long journey, maybe on a long stretch of motorway or something like that. Give your right hand a little bit of a break, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty good, I guess. So yeah, it's got enough electronics, I think, for what you need. Nothing more. I was out in the new Tiger 1200 a few months back, and it was just too much, too much electronics, too much information on that screen, and it kind of distracts you, or it distracts me anyway. So yeah, I think it's got the right amount of electronics on this bike. Styling of the bike, so I think it's one of my favourite looking adventure tourers, what you want to call it. I love the Tigers, all the Tigers, but compared to the 800 Tiger, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot beefier, which I really like. Yeah, so it's a good looking bike, you know. It's got all these little bits, like these little wind deflectors underneath the screen and stuff on the left and the right of the instrument panel. That's keeping a lot of the wind off my shoulders, I would imagine, and my chest area. There's a lot of like scaffolding underneath the seat, not huge amounts of it, but you know, a lot of people, some people don't like that. But it's just fine, you know. It makes the bike, it adds something to the look of the bike, I think. It's nice and tall. I can't remember the seat height top of my head, but the seat on this bike is adjustable actually. I've got it on the highest setting, but there is a lower setting. So it's quite a tall bike. I'm 5'11". I can get flat-footed on the bike, so I'm quite happy with that. Oops. But like I said, it's tall and heavy, so you've got to be aware of that. If you're a little bit shorter than me, that might be something you need to think about if you're out riding something like this, because like I said, you don't want to get caught out with the weight of it if you're a shorty. Brakes on the bike, so I've been riding it now for a little while, well, half an hour or so, I suppose that's not that long, but already I can feel the brakes are good, you know. It's got twin discs in the front, and it's got 4 piston calipers on each side. I believe it's just Triumph badged brake calipers, probably made by Nissan or something like that. It's got a single disc on the back with a twin piston caliper. Now, one of the things I'm going to say about the back brake, usually when I'm describing back brakes, I'm like, meh, you know, it stops you. But I think the back brake on this is probably, arguably, the best back brake I've felt on a bike. In a long time anyway. I can't remember another back brake feeling as good as this one. So yeah, it's very good. So yeah, lots of stopping power on the bike, and that's what you want with something, you know, that's potentially this powerful and this weight. You want to be able to, you're going to need to stop, right? So they've not penny pinched on the brakes on this bike. Very good brakes. The mirrors on the bike, yep, brilliant. I think these are actually on handlebar mirror risers, the looks of it. But I've got a great view behind me. I'm not really, I can see a little bit of my arms, but probably just the way I've got them adjusted. But I can see everything behind me, which is what you want, obviously. yeah, I just feel like I've got good presence. You know, it's big. It's it's like you're sitting inside of it. I feel very, very protected. It's really, really good. Obviously, guys, it's really, really cold, and it's absolutely pouring down. Again, I'm going to pull over very quickly and give you a quick look over the bike, and then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to head home because I'm getting cold, and it's not fun when you're cold. So I'll quick look around the bike, and then hopefully tomorrow the weather's a little bit better, and we can get back out and we can do some more reviews on it, or another review on it if I get time. Now, like I say, this is currently for sale. I think it's going for about £6,000 if I remember right, and it's an absolute bargain, a deal. But yeah, it's going for £6,000 and it's fully kitted. I think it's done about 17,000 miles. I don't know how to find that information. I'll not let to play about with it. Done about 17,000 miles, I believe he said, and it has it comes fully equipped. It's got, you know, the auxiliary lights, the heated grips, the big windscreen. It's got full luggage. It's got Triumph luggage, so top box and panniers. It's got crash bars. Yeah, it's a good package. And it's stunning. There's no mark on it. Now, when I stop up here, you're going to see it could be covered in mud, probably, or hopefully maybe some of this rain's washed it off. But yeah, it's a fantastic machine. One of the other things I should have said it does have, it's got self-cancelling indicators, and that's one of my biggest things that I always forget to turn my indicator off, and I'm always getting shouted at for it. So yeah, it's been really good. I like self-cancelling indicators. I've never ridden a bike other than the Africa Twin that had self-cancellers, so good fun. So 1 minute, I'll pull over. So the neutral was nice and easy to find, and the side stand's easy to locate with your foot. Yeah, it's a bit dirty. So like I say, this is the 2013 Triumph Tiger Explorer. Absolutely fantastic. I love this bike already. I've only been out in it half an hour and I absolutely love it. So like I said, it is raining, guys, so very quickly. 19-inch front wheel. I believe this is the Pirelli Scorpion Trails. Feels pretty good in this wet weather. That's his twin discs with the four piston calipers on each side, and they work absolutely fantastic as well. No problem with them at all. The adjustable suspension at the front, adjustable for dampening and rebound, whatever it is. These cool auxiliary lights in the front. Obviously can't really see much of that during the daytime, but at night I would imagine they'll work a treat. This screen is on its highest position for me anyway, and it's keeping everything off of me. Brilliant. Try and keep some of the wind off, obviously, in this cold weather. The handguards work a treat as well, and the mirrors work really, really well. You can see everything behind me. So the 1215cc inline triple engine, which sounds absolutely fantastic. Just the standard exhaust on this one, but I wouldn't change that. That sounds perfect for me. I don't really care about it being too loud. So it's 135 brake horsepower on this, so very, very powerful. The preload adjuster for the rear shocks underneath the seat here. I would imagine you could probably do that on the fly if you were agile enough. Is it a 17-inch or 18-inch on the back, but it's a single swing arm, which look absolutely great as well. Obviously because it's got the shaft on the other side. So there's that shaft drive there. 280mm disc on the back with a twin piston caliper on the back. So that back brake was really, really good. I mean, it's not as good as any front brake, but probably the better of the rear brakes I've been on, bikes I've been on. Like I said, these bikes get dirty, okay, there's lots of nooks and crannies on them, and as you can see, this one is no different. But you know, it's just part of the deal you have an adventure bike, I guess. This bike comes with the crash bars on it, or the engine bars. They look quite nice as well. It's got the belly pan on it. So yeah, the 20 litre fuel tank on it. So I believe they were telling me that's good for about anything between 150 and 200 miles, depending on how you drive it, obviously. No LED lights, which is a bit unfortunate, but I'd imagine you could probably just put LED lights in that yourself, if it bothers you that much. But yeah, it's very, very, very comfortable bike. I really, really like it. I'm glad I've got this for a few days. And so it's a bike I've wanted to try for a long time, and I'm just so happy he's given me it out. It will come with panniers, this bike. I'm sure it's the Triumph panniers, so they just lock into these quick release systems. So yeah, that's always handy as well, especially for this kind of bike. This is the bike you want to go touring on, or I would go touring on anyway. So yeah, right, okay, I think I'll get back on it. So I've got it for a few days, so I'm sure we'll get better opportunities soon, better weather. So obviously this isn't the kind of bike for a new rider. I think that would be a bit silly, because it is big and powerful and heavy. But if you're looking for something for touring, if you're going to do a lot of touring, this is where you'd want to be. You'd want to be sitting where I am right now. It's nice and comfortable. It's got the power to do what you want to do. You know, I'm not a speed demon in any means, but you know, sometimes you want that little bit of power just to get you by things, and this bike's going to have lots of power to do that. And then just, you know, ease back off and it will just bimbo along at 60 mile an hour, whatever it is. It won't even break a sweat. And I think obviously it is an older bike. This bike's almost 10 years old, but you know, it still feels, it rides really, really well. It's obviously been looked after. So that's it. You know, I mean, this is what I've been working towards. I'm still a relatively new rider, I guess, only a few years. And I know I started off obviously like everybody else in a 125, and then I went to a 500, and then a 600, or a 650. So the next logical step for me is a 1200, I think. Yeah, so the next logical step for me would probably be something like this size. Now, I have been saving up for a while to buy myself a Africa Twin or a Tiger 1200. You know, but they're mega expensive. You know, they're between 15 and £20,000, depending on, you know, accessories and stuff you put on it. And you get bikes, and I'm now thinking you get bikes like this. You know, it's got everything on it, and it's like £6,000. I'm saying it like that's nothing. That's a lot of money, but £6,000 compares to, you know, close to £20,000. It's making me think. Honestly, I hope you can hear it in my voice, and I'm being genuinely truthful. I absolutely love this bike. It's really, really good fun, and I'm just thinking to myself, what's this bike going to be like in better weather? So yeah, I'm going to have fun in this over the next few days anyway. So anyway, I'm sorry it's not the best video in the world, guys, but I hope you can appreciate the weather has been kind of miserable. It looks nice over there now, but I am absolutely dripping wet. So I think I'm going to call it a day. So I hope you've liked the video. If you have, please hit the like button, and if you really want to help me out, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. I am trying to get hold of as many bikes as possible, but it's proving a little bit difficult just now, and I think that's just due to the fact that a lot of dealerships are struggling to get bikes. So the last couple of videos I've done have been on used bikes, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I hope you do appreciate the used bikes as well. So yeah, please hit that like button and subscribe if you can. Any questions about the bike, please ask. I will answer it as soon as I can. There is a bunch of videos coming up there's a tour coming up of Skye, Lewis and Harris, and at least 2 more reviews on 2 other triumphs actually, so I'm looking forward to doing those. So I think that'll do me, guys, so ride safe.